flame we hold is as good as gold. Bonanza, our birthright, the name card right, the Ponderosa Ranch. Right along, 4 men strong together. We here belong and standing strong. Wrong ain't got a chance. Day by day, work or play, ready side by side. Hello, friend, come on in. The gate is open wide. Bound to be a fighting free bonanza. Singing pines of the boundary lines for the Ponderosa Ranch. Part of our bonanza, the stars at night, the morning light, the water and the branch. Right along, 4 men strong together. We here belong and standing strong. Wrong ain't got a chance. Day by day, work or play, ready side by side. Come on, friend, welcome in. The gate is open wide. Bound to be a fighting free bonanza. Singing pines of the boundary lines for the Ponderosa Ranch.
That you can listen to, or 4 minutes of stuff that you can watch for $150,000.
Greater risk of having this happen again?
Oh, no question about it, because she had 2 of them. You too.
To edit DNA, to fight, has nothing to do with wealth or social status.
Listen, this revolution, these are breakthroughs that are going to change the playing field, and it equalizes the playing field. We now can do things like approaching reversing aging. We amazing time in what I do.
Let's start with reversing aging.
Story. In the 1950s, Wanda Lunsford published the only paper.
And the world is flat, right? It's actually asleep within us. And this is a way to potentially wake it up. Repeated it, and it worked. And the world is flat, right?
But the book is...
She then went to the bathroom and actually collapsed in the stall, and that's the most lucky thing.
Or by having sex with...
Right, and that's the problem.
By sex and what else?
By you, if you have it, and transmit it to somebody else.
Right.
Whether you're rich or poor, and the world is flat, right? Ain't sexy, but and the world is flat, right? The World Cup happened, and then all of a sudden, people from Brazil went all over the world, and the world is flat, right?
From all around the world, going to a place where they...
You too. And the world is flat, right?
Turning, spreading back out around the world.
100 million people over the years because the world is flat. It's coming over the next month. The world is flat.
It's a news story, and you can have the exclusive.
Over the years because the world is flat.
We
Over the years because the world is flat.
appreciate it.
And the world is flat, right? And the world is
What?
the flat, right? Repeated it, and it worked.
Is that the truth?
Repeated it, and it worked.
Doctor, good morning.
Morning, Jeff.
We saw you last week. Well, first of all, there are a lot of disagreements over how countries should handle this, and all countries are taking different approaches to what's happening right now. Many disagreements.
And the world is flat, right?
In your estimation, doctor, where are...
The world is flat now in a sense that we're all very, very connected.
Government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information.
And the world is flat, right?
I hope that you're enjoying the show.
About how the planet is a sphere is made up by NASA. It's a NASA conspiracy. They're just trying to find ways to get more funding, more money.
And the world is flat, right?
Chris, we wish you the best, and I hope tonight's not as bad as last night.
And I hope if I have to have somebody dancing around doing funny things, it's neither of you two guys, because I don't want to have that image in my head. No, listen, thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell people it's not a cakewalk, but we can get through it. And if you don't have people around you to take care of you the way I'm blessed to have, reach out to people who you know who have this. Do whatever you can to help them.
And just to be clear, I mean, you don't know necessarily how you got this. I mean, you were doing...
No. And the world is flat, right?
As much as anybody on social distancing and stuff, right?
And the world is flat, right?
It's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
And the world is flat, right? And the world is flat, right?
And the world is flat.
Spread it anyway.
Exactly. One can lead to thousands.
Hey, don't walk away.
Evil is alive and well by
Dr. David Eggers joins us from his home in Los Angeles. David, very good to see you. I want to pick up on Ben's report about that high.
And the world is flat, right? This study's definitive? No. So do we know? And the world is flat, right?
But so, Eddie, what do you don't think that...
There is a black cat on the field. There is a black cat on the field. So we've gone from seeing ghosts to black cats now on Monday Night Football in MetLife. Oh, this ought to be fun here. And if this Cowboys season doesn't go the way it was expected to, blame that guy. I mean, change the direction. He's got great lateral.
Effectively flat, which is effectively flat, flattening, possible flattening of the curve, flattening, pop. Some suggest there's a longer pause at the top, which is effectively a plateau. Not really about the fine. Nobody wants the money. We want the compliance. We are serious. Flattening.
We are serious.
Hello, this is a Muppet News Flash. We just found out that the Earth is flat, and there's more land beyond the poles.
The world is flat.
Flat Earth. The Earth was flat.
Says it's flat. That's worth reporting.
That the Earth is flat. Jeff Zeleny, Manu Raju, thank you so much.
Scientists are worried that flat Earth could become a political issue. Guys.
All right, fascinating stuff. All right, Aaron, thank you.
Very interesting.
The Earth is flat? I know it's flat. I walk on it.
Hello, fellas. Everybody's here. Freddie, Tom, good to see you, Mike.
How are you, Mo?
Science is back, baby. And the Earth, flat.
Washing your hands does work. Social distancing,
flat.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? And the Earth is flat. Washing your hands.
You said that you felt that none of you were compensated adequately for what it was that you did for the country.
Science is back, baby. And the Earth, flat.
You know, why do you feel that way? Can you tell us how much you were compensated? What do you think would have been adequate at that time? I mean, what you did was an amazing feat, and clearly something that
Up 2, 3.
Science is back, baby. And the earth?
Washing your hands does work. Social distancing?
Government quarters. So my travel reimbursement was $33.
Does work.
And what have I done? You know, stop, and it's too late. I mean, doing stuff, and what have I done? You know, stop, and it's too late. I mean, that you're just saying you're not. This is all in my mind. It's not in your mind. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
$1 billion? I don't know.
That stuff is flat.
How do you make a whole channel about it?
Yeah, I don't know.
That stuff is flat.
You know, chemtrails.
But actually, the stuff we did in the car the other day, it didn't have. I just felt it was a bit flat. It didn't have, you know, something. It was too flat. Yeah, it didn't. It needs. That's why I think anger or a kind of bitterness in there, but.
You're not talking about the stuff we did the other day.
No. I'm talking about that little.
Man, that's not flat. This was flat because
Efficient. Flat.
Use of farmland. More efficient.
That stuff is flat.
Everything. Say it. Change the world.
That stuff is flat.
I'm asking you a real question here.
Yeah, I believe the Earth is flat.
Flatter.
That stuff is flat.
Stop. I could call it a barrier, but I think I don't have to do that so much anymore.
More centrifugal force is generated where the Earth is flat.
My fellow Americans, as we celebrate American Dream Week at the White House, we continue to...
If you are confused, check with the sun. Carry a compass. Stand. Come in, try to wake up. Come in, try to wake up. Come in, try to wake up. Come in, try to wake up.
You don't really understand sometimes what a terrible burden it is to know some of the things that I know. And try to wake people up and impart this knowledge to them. And find out that they just have walls built in front of them. They want to be slaves.
Now I risk sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but it's no longer a theory. What I'm about to say is fact. The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret. They have planned and are now leading us into a one-world communist government.
Take a journey with me deep inside the rabbit hole. Wake up, my friends, there's some things that you have to know. Everything you ever thought you knew, it has to go. For instance, NASA is the world's largest magic show. 9/11 was a
You've got him, don't mind.
Ground, that bitch stay flat, cause the Earth's not round. The Earth is flat and I'll prove it in this song. Just like my Mountain Dew that's been out too long. My credit card, flat. My ruler, flat. This paper, flat. Where I live, flat. The tires on my back, flat. The solar in my hand, flat. My sing pitch, flat.
My fellow
This whole world,
Americans, as we celebrate
flat.
American Dream Week at the White House, we continue to see incredible results.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
big one coming up this week from The Who. Yet another original composition from their album called La La Lies.
I'm unnoticed boy, just toy over the flats, over the flats, over the flats.
They can see that he's just a fool, gives an answer, but the fool on the hill. The eyes in his head see the world spinning round.
Thank you very much. Coming up.
For you that I've been wondering like my whole life, okay, is the world round or flat? Because if so...
Nikhil, you ask a very important question. This concept had eluded all of humanity for centuries. Everyone thought Earth was flat. Why? Because it looked flat. And they posed the same arguments you did. If it was round, stuff would fall off. And keep doing this. This would count as evidence.
Just go to the moon.
Keep doing.
What it would take to fake. Even this very morning, I tweeted, it's true no matter what. Imagine that. The good thing about science into wisdom. To fake a moon landing. The hundreds of engineering hours that went behind this, and the records is knowing of those designs, is knowing of me on the internet. Political truths. Is knowing Earth is flat.
One sip of fruit punch.
Method of
Queen works only
occasionally.
Through a straw, but of course you can have a lot of fun in weightlessness, and you can turn it into a bubble and then drink it.
Remain flat, nationwide flat. Parts are, and the models, something that's something incredible. The power, the horrible, destructive power. You looked at the chart, they did well, they were going to unfortunately perish. Is now that kind of flattening, particularly in a place that was a hot spot. Going to be doing equipment from every corner of Earth. And the charts are, and the models going to be doing.
Hey, want to listen to some tunes?
Flat Earth is flat, flat Earth ain't round. Just look at your feet down on the ground. Flat Earth is flat, flat Earth ain't round. Just take a look around. Flat Earth is flat, flat Earth ain't round. Just look at your feet down on the ground. Flat Earth is flat, flat Earth ain't round. Just take a look around.
How true it is becomes clear once we realize that the false religion of scientism has indoctrinated humanity to believe into a purely materialistic heliocentric worldview which denies the existence of a creator. In fact, they have gone so far as to make monkeys out of gods, so to speak, by planting in our minds the belief that we descended from apes instead of a divine creator. Some years ago, for example, after I had become aware that we don't live on a spinning ball, I mentioned this to my girlfriend, and she replied, "That can't be." "Why not?" I asked, and she answered, "They teach that." It is true they teach that, but is what they teach true? Obviously not. Indoctrination at an early age is clearly evident if we look for it, and it is seemingly very profitable to keep the bulk of humanity in a state of a superimposed, artificially manufactured, limited awareness, a dreamlike condition, if you will. In this video clip here, we see children at a young age being indoctrinated into the globe belief. Incredibly, it is only 13 seconds long and you can buy it for $49. Who says globalism doesn't pay? The relentless conditioning that we have been exposed to and intentionally targeted with has resulted in the acceptance of a numb herd mentality, which led to the individual human going along with this artificially imposed state of the mindless masses, without questioning as to why they are doing what they are doing. Humanity is at a point where conformity rules how and what we think. Now, you may ask, how far does this go?
Is that similar forces are subconsciously shaping the way you think right now.
Yes, and furthermore, as we just saw, this conformity can be initiated and directed with any image, word, or even just a sound. Take this poster, for example. It is a masterpiece of psychological warfare and core trigger for conformity in the alien agenda. And this is just one item. Consider the barrage of globe images we are all subjected to on a daily basis from our youngest days on. Just try to go through one day and consciously register and make note of every globe image you see from morning till evening. You will be surprised how many it is. You could even make a game of it with your children, sort of like I Spy thing, and see how many globes each person can come up with. He who will see the most globes will lose the game, of course. Alright, that's all I got for today.
Hello, world YouTubers, flat earthers, whoever's out there listening.
Someone just said the earth is flat.
So badly embarrassed many of us, and it is the gateway to draining the swamp. And I thank you, Steve.
That's pretty good, actually, yeah. Do you love clicking buttons and subscribing to things? Then click the button to subscribe to my channel, and you'll finally...
The phenomenon of fake news is becoming an everyday reality. Since when wasn't news fake? At what point did people think we weren't making it up from the start anyway?
Welcome to the future, human slave!
Mass. Which mass? It has been shown the energy you pump in mass. And this seems incredible. It adds mass relative to something you're going to run into. Sure, like at CERN in Switzerland, we call it a target.
They're all covered with filthy germs, aren't they, Smithers?
Why, what do you mean, sir?
Freemasons run the country! Ew.
Yo, the earth is flat. Get used to it, people. Do the research. This is your wake-up call.
For those of you who don't know me, Conspiracy Kitty Decoder on YouTube has completely exposed, you know, you're better off hearing it right from the horse's mouth. Right meow.
You know, we're all in the same boat here.
I don't care, shape of pear.
And this is a frog.
We're gazing, and what do we think we might see?
The question is, what is a phenomena?
The question is, who cares? Have you been half asleep?
The secrets that you keep.
But only illusions.
I'm losing sleep over the secrets that you keep.
And rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to.
I don't care, shape of pear.
And this is a frog.
Choose to believe it. I know they're wrong. Wait and see.
There's no life whatever beyond the edge of the world. There's no life whatever beyond the edge of the world.
Admiral Richard Byrd explored more uncharted land than any other man in history. He was a man of action, but he was a man of thought as well, an explorer and a scientist, an adventurer and a philosopher, a complete man, one of the men in history who had to lead the way.
On this expedition, we hope to fly across the South Pole into the mysterious land beyond to see what is there.
To the cameramen who made this picture, I want to give full credit. They did not hesitate to risk their lives at their job. Now, the North Pole is the center of a deep ocean, whereas the South Pole is the center of a high plateau which averages 7,000 or 8,000 feet in altitude. There is no life whatever beyond the edge of the world. There are no Eskimos. It is too cold for human beings to live there permanently. When we left on this expedition, we were, to put it very mildly, extremely anxious to find out if it existed. Would we be able to find it? And that was the great question.
We left on this expedition from the Navy Yard at Boston. Here is our supply ship, the Rupert, just a big unprotected iron ship of 8,000 tons. And here is our icebreaker, the Bear, which we took as a protection for the personnel of the Rupert, and also to use exploring in dangerous ice areas. We took with us this time 150 Eskimo dogs and more than 14,000 different kinds of items for 2 years away from civilization, where there were no supply depots around the corner. Day followed day, week followed week, as we penetrated the great Pacific. We headed straight south, and here we have an ordinary unprotected iron ship, sailing in seas no ship had ever been in before since the world began. It wasn't that we were any better than our predecessors. We simply had a more open ice here. We bucked the ice until we were finally stopped by an impossible pack. Impossible, at least, for the Rupert. But we wanted to see what was beyond the horizon. That's what we came for. And for that purpose, we had another string to our bow, aviation. We retreated a few miles and managed to find an open lake in the ice field. So we proceeded to put the plane overboard. We had to execute this maneuver as rapidly as possible because we knew that under the influence of the wind and the tide, the fields would soon close in around the ship again. In fact, the ice is already beginning to close in. Our plan was to go south with our steamer until we were stopped by ice, and to take up the attack on the unknown with aviation. And now at last we're going to find out what was in the southern part of this mysterious part of the world. For after battling the bad weather, here we are 240 miles within it. We came to this strange phenomenon, ice islands. This was a strange and weird sea. Steaming through these ice islands was an eerie sensation. Here was the twilight of the gods, and we were curious to know what these somber giants were guarding. At long last, the dice fell our way, for the elements acted in our favor. The wind and the tide which had closed the ice in around us finally opened the pack so that we could break our way into more open sea. We had added nearly 500,000 square miles to the Pacific Ocean. And here is our journey's end. At length we sighted that great natural phenomenon, the ice barrier. I knew it would be taking a big chance, but it seemed the only way. As we started alongside the barrier with our ships, suddenly the edge... Enough of ice falling to sink a fleet of ships. It seemed like a warning from Providence not to go alongside the barrier. We therefore had to unload from the bay ice. We had to put our tractors overboard with the engines running to safeguard the lives of the drivers as the ice was constantly breaking off. We had to get the tractors quickly away from the edge of the crumbling ice. We came within an ace of losing overboard our principal plane of exploration, the William Hawley. It was a critical moment. At times, as the ice broke, men or supplies would fall into the water. We kept a man on watch with a life preserver on line as a safeguard for the men working on the edge of the ice. We were working against time to finish unloading before the fall freeze-up, when the ships would have to return to civilization. You can see what a tough job we had to transport 400 tons of material through this area. The bay ice was constantly shifting and cracking, and pressure ridges were being formed as we worked by the irresistible force of the slowly moving ice cap. I have never seen men work so hard. With 24 hours of daylight, they could and often did work the clock around without stopping. We call this period the White Nightmare, and a nightmare it was. The hardest work of all was this man-hauling of sleds, which we had to do in order to get unloaded in time. Eskimo Huskies, still the backbone of polar exploration. They can go where no tractor could ever go. You can't do without them. The Rupert must go back to civilization because the bay would soon freeze and she couldn't stand the ice. Now, the only person out of 150 men to get sick and who would have to go back on the Rupert was the doctor. At very great risk, I had to dispatch the Bear northward to get another doctor, for I pledged myself not to risk men for a year on the ice without medical care. There would be anxiety over the Bear. Suddenly, without warning, a storm hit us before we could get all of our food and other vital supplies stored away. And all hands had to work frantically throughout the storm to prevent the loss of food boxes under deep snowdrifts. The storm lasted for many hours. We found it chilly working in the wind. And when it was over, there was a bit of digging to do. And here is the original commando.
The honor of leading this expedition belongs to Admiral Richard Byrd. It is a gratifying experience for this 58-year-old explorer, who in the past had to raise his own funds for exploration, and who now has the resources of the United States Navy at his command. In 1955, 2 years before his death, Admiral Richard Byrd departs on his 5th and last expedition. But it's not simply an unknown continent or a distant ocean that lures adventurers like Richard Byrd. As he put it, here is a door ajar through which one may escape from the noise and chaos of civilization into the solace and harmony of the cosmos, and for a moment be part of it.
The question is, what is a phenomena?
The question is, who cares?
Television has a tremendous responsibility. The responsibility is to be accurate. The responsibility is to be truthful. The responsibility is not to mislead the viewing public. I compromised.
We're not talking about something that's entertaining or sensational. We're talking about your government, where you live, your country, your freedoms. And what we're talking about here is things which you see every day. Like someone said a long time ago, many will look with their eyes but not see, and listen with their ears but not hear. And that's us. That is this country. We have been looking at things all along and never realizing the significance of the occult emblems that we're seeing today.
Europe. A new world order. International world order.
Novus Order Seclorum. A new order. For the centuries, for the ages, forever.
And creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see. I think a new world order is emerging.
New World Order momentous medical initiative. It's called Operation Warp Speed. Operation ventilators or testing. Its objective is to finish developing and then to manufacture and distribute a proven coronavirus vaccine as fast as possible. Again, we'd love to see if we can do it.
To build a new world order.
A new world order.
Out of it came a new Europe, a new world order, a new consensus as to how life should and could be lived. The pieces are in flux. Soon they will settle again. Before they do, let us reorder.
Is particularly dangerous because it can cause drowsiness or euphoria, which prevents the worker from realizing the danger in time to escape.
Once you go flat, you never go back. It just got real, y'all.
Are working right now to breathe life into those old flat earth theories of protectionism. Our new world is far smaller.
The horizon is always eye level. Once you go flat, you never go back. Where is the curve? A code red science emergency.
Isaac Newton, my man, said,
To which point she said the whole thing is a hoax. Things just fall.
This is called gravity.
flat and a flat and a flat and a flat.
How's that for trippy?
A flat and 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 a flat. And a flat and a flat and a.
They say the Earth is flat.
Or flat.
Gone flat. Well, it's gone flat. What is the speed of gravity? Our best understanding of that tells us that gravity moves at the speed of light. The cosmic speed limit. It's not just a good idea, it's the law. And to be specific, gravity moving at that speed, that's a change in gravity. So if something happens, something warps, something gets readjusted, it sends a ripple through the fabric of space and time, and that ripple moves at the speed of light, as prescribed by Einstein's general theory of relativity. So.
What?
And it was falling flat. We couldn't figure it out.
Are you a flat earther?
Flat.
Violent spray of filtered water, compounded by a shower of unfiltered water to help cut costs for the factory. Liquid black is added to the water. No one is entirely sure what liquid black is or where it comes from, but it consistently makes the tastiest sodas known to man.
Our solar system, this is space, the infinite frontier.
Hey, Linda! What was it like inventing the space shuttle?
I didn't invent the shuttle.
Well, I wonder, whoever did made a lot of money. Hey, Linda, when are we going to finally get over to Mars?
Well, there is a manned expedition being discussed.
No, I mean you and me. We could make an evening of it.
Look at the sunrise. You ever see anything that beautiful? Besides me, I mean?
Get over yourself, Kazansky.
Oh, come on, you're attracted to me.
All right, just pass me that wrench. What was that?
I think some debris hit the telescope.
Ed White is flying at 17,000 miles per hour, 200 miles above the Earth.
Okay, I'm out.
Nothing sus.
som en pannkaka. Yiddly-haddly-ho, och jorden är platt som en pannkaka. Det kan ju vem som helst förstå, det ser man ju, då är det så. Och jorden är platt som en ocean. Yiddly-haddly-ho, och jorden är platt som en ocean. Det är nog fel att säga det, men det är ju faktiskt så det är.
That's why I know we haven't been to the moon.
If I say that the world is flat, and someone else says it's flat, that's worth reporting. That's worth reporting. That's worth reporting.
The Earth is flat, whether it's OJ didn't really do it, whether it's we didn't land on the moon. Flat Earth, it's the Earth is flat.
Hi, I'm Anita Bream, and I play Hannah in the movie. Over the years, there have been hundreds of stories about the world within our world. But where did that idea come from?
Edmund Halley was a natural philosopher who lived in the late 1600s, and he was the royal astronomer in Britain.
Today, he's remembered for the comet named after him. He was the one who discovered that comets were not things that simply went blazing through the sky and disappeared, but in fact had long elliptical orbits. And in 1691, he proposed to the British Royal Society an idea that the Earth might be hollow, with several smaller spheres turning within each other, sort of like those Russian Matryoshka dolls. Halley also suggested that there was life inside the Earth, something for which generations of science fiction writers have thanked him ever since.
Just how did Halley think that light would get in there? How would plants grow?
Halley wasn't sure what was inside and what would make it glow. He just simply noted that there are a lot of ways to make light so that they could see.
Like many scientists at that time, he was interested in a lot of different things. There had been a period for maybe almost 100 years of no northern lights, no aurora borealis. And in 1716, there was this prolonged and beautiful and extravagant display of the aurora borealis.
And Halley said, see, these are gases escaping from the inside of the planet. This is the glowing stuff that makes it light inside.
He tied this spectacular 1716 display into basically gas leaking out of the hollow Earth.
But it turns out that Sir Edmund Halley wasn't the only guy to come up with the idea that the Earth was hollow.
John Cleave Sims was from a prominent New Jersey family and was a sort of minor hero of the War of 1812. And then went off to be a trader in New Orleans, and somewhere came up with the idea that Earth was hollow.
He suggested that the Earth is not only hollow, but that there are vast openings at each pole through which we could go to get to this hollow Earth, and inside he was convinced lay an unspoiled paradise.
He expected to find a warm, well-stocked land full of what he called thrifty vegetables and animals, if not men. And I think he hoped that there would be people that we could initiate trade with.
Certainly in the early 19th century, nobody had been to the poles.
So it is a little ironic that ultimately Sims' idea was what sparked enough interest for Americans to spend public money sending an expedition out, and then that expedition, of course, failed to find what he had expected to find, the holes at the poles.
So, despite proof that there was no way to enter the center of the Earth at the poles, the idea of hollow Earth just wouldn't go away.
Cyrus Teed is maybe the oddest oddball in the whole collection of them in the history of the hollow Earth. He was born in upstate New York in 1839 and had attended sort of an eccentric medical college, shall we say. It was not one of the recognized ones. In October 1869, he had been working in his laboratory like the mad scientist he was. As he later wrote about it, God visited him in the form of a beautiful woman, what better way, and told him that what we see is an optical illusion, that we're all actually living inside the hollow Earth. Based on this intelligence from God, He formed a religion he called Koreshanity and tried to get followers.
Personally, I think he was probably a very charismatic speaker. He had to have something that really attracted people.
His Hollow Earth twist on it is kind of wacky, but his idea of establishing a religious commune is right in line with much thinking that was going on in the 19th century all over America.
He ultimately ended up moving to Florida and founding a community there.
Teed got a big piece of land near the beach where his followers had their school, their own bakery, a machine shop. They even made their own electricity. At the turn of the 20th century, there were hundreds of these Hollow Earth believers living there. It was like a small town.
It was laid out according to very pleasing geometrical ideas. There was an art hall and a small open-air Greek-style theater near the little stream that ran through it. It was kind of a lovely, peaceful place to retreat from a lot of the chaos and ugliness that were going on in the outer world.
The Koreshans thought that the planet was a giant hollow sphere with the land and the oceans on the inside surface and the sky in the middle. Instead of living on the outside looking up, they were on the inside looking towards the center, and somehow the sun and the moon and the stars all fit in there.
I mean, you'd think it would be off-putting to would-be followers, but he insisted that it was an important part of his theology, and that also that his theology was on a scientific basis.
He decided he needed to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that we did live inside the Earth, and one of the ways to do that was proving that the surface was concave.
They invented this thing called the rectilineator. And what they did was they got an uninterrupted stretch of beach south of Fort Myers and set up the rectilineator according to very meticulous standards. And they would move one piece and then take this one and put it ahead.
They would move this machine down the beach, and they were basically trying to draw a straight line, which, if the theory were correct, would intersect the inside of this curve.
And the idea was that if they did this meticulously and precisely enough, they would eventually run into the upturning edge of the Earth. And while they didn't actually bump into the upturning edge of the Earth, they conducted the experiment for months, and to their own satisfaction proved that the Earth did indeed turn up on the edges.
But how do you explain that ships disappear over the horizon because the Earth curves down?
We know that the Earth is round and we're on the outside by the effects of gravity. Back in the Middle Ages, people built bigger and bigger churches and cathedrals, and at some point they started collapsing in on themselves. And the Earth would do the same thing. If it had a very large hollow region, then just because of the forces of gravity, it would collapse in on itself.
Even if it's not physically possible, it's still a cool idea. A secret, hidden world right under our feet, like the one Jules Verne created.
Journey to the Center of the Earth, published in 1864, might well be called a journey to the center of geology.
At the time Jules Verne wrote his novel, we knew that the inside of the Earth was hot. That was obvious just by seeing that there are volcanoes. We also saw that the surface of the Earth was being modified by the action of water, by erosion, by geological processes. But we have very little understanding of how those processes actually work.
In 1851, there was this wonderful sort of World's Fair, really, in London, and at that, the very first life-size representations of dinosaurs had been shown to the public. And one thing that Verne does, and is brilliant, is he takes this adventure story of three people going down into the Earth and having all these adventures, and they encounter a battle between two giant sea monsters. And it's the very first battle of dinosaurs in literature.
Hollow Earth theories sure have made for some good stories, even if they're not good science. But does anyone still believe any of this?
Actually, Hollow Earth thinking has not died out. If you Google Hollow Earth, you get something like 2 million hits.
Some people think that UFOs are parked in the middle of the Earth, and others believe that robots live down there.
One story is that Hitler was a Hollow Earth believer. And instead of dying in that bunker in 1945, he and select aides escaped into a portal for the Hollow Earth, and Hitler's sitting down there right now plotting his next move.
Jules Verne was really onto something. Not so much the Hollow Earth, but the idea of mixing science and fiction. And I'm sure he'll continue to inspire writers and readers for generations to come.
Doesn't matter that much if some of the story is fantasy and not really based on science. If it gets people thinking about the universe in which we live and seeking more information.
Кошачий отряд добровольцев-испытателей был сформирован прямо на аэродроме.
Does anyone know?
Cats in space. Cats in space. Cats in space. Doing everything they can to stay alive. Cats in space. Living their dreams. Trying to live. Cats in space. Doing everything they can do to stay alive. Cats in space. Trying to live again. Trying to find new homes. And trying to drive a car that they found parked in Mars. And losing their minds. Trying to survive. Cats in space. Trying to find mates and find toothpaste. And cats in space. Living their lives and dreams are hard to find because it's all a dream they've realized. Cats in space. Living their lives. Skipping ropes and doing cool things on a daily basis. Their days are years and their nights are months. Cats in space. The sun is always out, right in their face, so they can grow just like a big plant. But no one has anything but cats in space. Cats in space. Trying to live another night, which lasts a whole month. Cats in.
Okay, you recording?
Thanks for joining me. What we're looking at here is Gerardus Mercator. He's famous for the Mercator maps and the 1569 map of the world. Mercator featured these 4 regions at the North Pole, along with the Magnetic Mountain and the Central Whirlpool. After 1636, these things were no longer featured on maps. So this Magnetic Mountain, this is what used to be the Tree of Life. And all that's left now is this aurora borealis. They didn't tell you about the black sun. In fact, they've been doing their best to cover up the black hole sun. And what's happening here is this. The sun above your head, that's Jesus the sun, places its light into the Holy Grail, this supermassive black hole at the North Pole. You know, they tell you there's a black hole at the center of the galaxy. So at the center is Polaris, the North Pole star. And the sun places its light into the hole. And out of this black hole comes the ash-trailing jet, aurora borealis.
Will I be scared of Cartoon Cat again when he makes another move, my friend? He ran to me like he wanted me dead. Something hit me really, really hard in the head. Cartoon Cat killing the fight. Imagine not knowing what is wrong or right. Cartoon Cat killing the fight. Imagine not knowing what is wrong or right. It's all in my head, 'cause I just felt that. Do you know how it is to dream bad about you? I didn't recognize you. Will I be scared of Cartoon Cat again when he makes another move, my friend? He ran to me like he wanted me dead. Something hit me really, really hard in the head. It's always different when he comes, but it's the same when he's done. Cartoon Cat will ruin your day tonight. It's always different when he comes, but it's the same when he's done. Cartoon Cat will ruin your day tonight. It's all in my head, 'cause I just felt that. Do you know how it is to dream bad about you? I didn't recognize you. Will I be scared of Cartoon Cat again when he makes another move, my friend? He ran to me like he wanted me dead. Something hit me really, really hard in the head. It's always different when he comes, but it's the same when he's done. Cartoon Cat will ruin your day tonight. It's always different when he comes, but it's the same when he's done. Cartoon Cat will ruin your day tonight.
Hey, want to listen to some tunes?
Flat Earth is flat, flat Earth ain't right.
Wait, it's all flat. Always has been.
The Earth is flat.
What if the Earth is flat?
It's taking time to see me.
Hi, Siri, could you call Stephen Hawking?
Calling Stephen Hawking.
Hey, is this Stephen Hawking?
This is Dr. Hawking.
Oh!
Who? Office hours are 3 to 5 p.m. How? I did not touch your bishop. Nerd.
the people who were out to kill members of Congress, successfully causing the deaths. Successfully is not the word, but that's the word, because it's what they set out to do of our enforcement. Enforcement.
Lasers. Laser, L-A-S-E-R. Of a laser. What? A laser can exist. So lasers, and then not this laser. No. Research paper, the laser would, so, who had a lot of lasers?
Much stuff.
Oh, laser.